Channel 11 presents New News with Tom Ryther.
Good afternoon. As we begin the big Labor Day weekend in St. Louis, news-wise, it has been quite a day as it has kept newsmen, firemen, and policemen from all over the area quite busy. First of all, an explosion this morning at the Monsanto Company's Queenie plant at 1700 South 2nd Street in St. Louis has reportedly injured 20 persons. We are now in the process of preparing a special film report, which we will have before today's New News is over. Meanwhile, there was another rash of fires in suburban Maplewood last night. But this time, the Maplewood police have a suspect in custody in connection with several arson cases from last Friday and again this morning. Booked on suspicion of arson is 23-year-old Patrick Joseph Craddock of 7212 South Street in Maplewood. 7 more fires were set in Maplewood and Richmond Heights this morning. Most of them were in homes, cars, and in trash cans. The damage was not extensive in most of the cases. However, a new car was totally burned while parked in a garage at 7369 Arlington. No injuries have been reported. Maplewood police declined to say what eventually led to the arrest of the suspect. A 7-month-old St. Louis boy was severely burned early this morning in a fire at his home in the 3900 block of Shaw Avenue. Shannon Dean DeHaven suffered second and third-degree burns on his body and is now in critical condition at Barnes Hospital. The boy's parents, James and Shirley DeHaven, awakened and found the living and bedrooms on fire. The DeHavens were able to get 2 older sons outside without injury. Well, the Collinsville, Illinois School Board and their striking teachers have reached a tentative agreement in their salary dispute, which has prevented the start of classes in that city. The negotiating meeting started last night and broke up early this morning. The 400 teachers will meet today to vote on that new contract. If it is ratified, school will begin next Tuesday in Collinsville for 8,500 students. In the East St. Louis School Board teacher contract hassle, Mayor Alvin Field says he is willing to mediate that dispute. His offer has been accepted by the East St. Louis teachers attorney Rex Carr and the superintendent of schools Rufus Starks. In the meantime, school remains delayed for 22,000 students. St. Clair County, Illinois Circuit Judge Howard Lee White has set October 1st as the trial date for 6 members of the East St. Louis School Board charged with misconduct in office. They are charged with allegedly awarding a contract for school repairs without asking for bids from several contractors. Illinois Senator Charles Percy has decided to terminate a $50,000 reward for the arrest and conviction of the person who killed his daughter Valerie almost 4 years ago. Percy says the offer will end on September the 18th. His daughter was slain in the Percy home at Kenilworth, Illinois. A Butler County, Missouri Circuit judge is expected to set October 5th as the trial date for 2 St. Louis teenagers charged with first-degree murder. Theodore and Dennis Klein are being held in the Butler County Jail in connection with the rifle slayings of 2 St. Louis friends, Brian Bradford and Mary Lou Suter. Their bodies were found June 21st. One of the new archaeological digging sites in this area is on the Edwardsville campus of Southern Illinois University. From the famous Monk's Mound, it's about a half-day's walk to the SIU campus, and it is believed that the Mississippian Indians use the area as a summer farming community. According to Professor Sidney Denny, there are numerous sites located on the campus. The one where the work is now underway is located on the flats just west of the river bluffs. A team of Denny students discovered this site last year when they conducted a survey of the campus for potential sites. 22 SIU students are involved in the project and are now receiving class credit for their work. Be right back with more news and that special film report on the Monsanto situation after this.
Wonder asks, how big do you want to be?
Big enough for penicillin by myself. Big enough to dance with my girlfriend. Big enough to go surfing.
He'll never need Wonder Bread more than right now, because the time to grow bigger and stronger is during the Wonder years, ages 1 through 12, the years when your child grows to 90% of his adult height. How can you help? By serving nutritious Wonder-enriched bread. Wonder helps build strong bodies 12 ways. Each delicious slice of Wonder Bread supplies protein for muscle, minerals for strong bones and teeth, carbohydrates for energy, vitamins for nerves. All vital elements for growing minds and bodies. During the wonder years, the growth years, help your child grow bigger and stronger. Serve Wonder Bread. Wonder helps build strong bodies 12 ways.
If you want your dog to be good and healthy, you've got to give him a good balanced dinner, like Lassie eats. Now all dogs can come home to the dinner Lassie comes home to. Recipe brand. Look at it pour. It's more than just meat. You've got 5 special vegetables in there, and 2 vitamin and mineral fortified chew biscuits. It doesn't even smell like dog food. Now Lassie's not an ordinary dog, but neither is yours. So why feed him like one? Feed him recipe.
I understand the film report is now ready from the Monsanto situation which occurred this morning. Monsanto company officials say that 20 persons were injured in an explosion this morning at their Queenie plant at 1700 South 2nd Street in St. Louis. A company spokesman says that at least 7 persons have been taken to City Hospital and to Lutheran Hospital. The cause of the blast has not yet been determined. It occurred in a building known as the WI building in the center of the Queenie plant complex. A fire followed the explosion, which has been extinguished by St. Louis firemen, and they are now battling a second fire on the 2nd floor of that 2-story building. The area is used for the manufacture of organic chemicals. The St. Louis Bomb and Arson Squad is now investigating the incident. No fatalities have been reported. The blast occurred at about 10 o'clock this morning. In other news now, diplomatic sources in Tel Aviv say that Premier Golda Meir will leave soon for a trip to Washington and talks with President Nixon. Those reports follow stepped-up demands by the Israeli government that America move to force Egypt and Russia to pull back Soviet-built missiles from the Suez Canal. The United States, meanwhile, has charged both Egypt and Russia with violating the ceasefire agreement. State Department spokesman Robert McCloskey issued the statement from Washington.
Our latest evidence confirms that there have been violations of the ceasefire standstill agreement in the Middle East. Now, it is not possible for me to go into details. We are taking up this matter both with the United Arab Republic and the Soviet Union through diplomatic channels. We are continuing to watch the balance closely, and as we've said before, we have no intention of permitting Israel's security to be adversely affected. In the meantime, we believe it is of utmost importance that the political talks among the parties under Ambassador Yaring's auspices begin forthwith.
2 members of the Chicago 7, Rennie Davis and Tom Hayden, have given the government until next April 30th to end the Vietnam War. If the deadline is not met, both Davis and Hayden say they will sign their own peace treaty with Hanoi and will lead a coalition of anti-war groups in a march on Washington. 2 of the 4 young men wanted in connection with last week's bombing at the University of Wisconsin at Madison have apparently slipped from the hands of the law for a second time. New York State Police have an alert out for 2 youths believed to be 19-year-old Dwight